What's up, everybody? My name is Indy, and that man sitting next to me, that's Mr. Jay Powell from Powell Group Consulting. And welcome to the very first session of the 2022 March Meet to Match, the March conference, Indie Game Business Conference. That's what it is. Yes, we're HD 1080p.
This is our 10th conference.
Yeah,
Is this?
that's
A little
crazy.
terrifying. All right, so before we get started, I just had to share with Dan a bit of something that he'll find entertaining from last night. So last night I was the one of the end bosses on the AT&T Unlock Challenge, and AT&T gave $100,000 to a team and $50,000 to another team, and then another team got 10 grand. We start out on the front page of Twitch, 12,000 some people watching this thing. They get to my introduction, and I had my mic muted for like the first 30 seconds or so, and everybody is like, Jay.
I taught him well.
And I was like, I am just hoping my producer did not see this, because I constantly give him hell because he ends up, accidentally muting his mic. And here I am on the front page of Twitch, and I did it. So yes, you're officially, off the hook for at least 48 hours on
Right.
that.
So with that many viewers, right? That's like that culminates all of the viewers of all the times
I didn't know we were going to be on the front page. That was a little bit not as terrifying as actually having to pick a winner. But oh my God, it was good times, and I completely muted my mic in front of God and everybody. All right, so
and I know you were wearing an Indie Game Business hoodie, weren't you?
I don't have an. We're working on it. I don't have them yet. We're working on that part. No, I actually had no hat. I had my hair styled.
Oh wow!
My wife said I was pretty. All right, so we've got 2 days of back-to-back sessions. Of course, if you want to do the meetings, the meeting passes are still available as well. There's over 150 some companies in there. Those are $60 now. But if you use the code friend of IGB, it knocks 20% off of that. And remember, if you want the decks and presentations from all of these sessions, go ahead and get a ticket. All you need is the free one. Just get the free pass, and you will be completely set. And after it's all said and done, Dan will email you all the slide decks. So yes, and also wonderful. Thank you so much to our 2 sponsors, AWS and EdgeGap. And with that, let's get this going. So first up, we have, I'm going to do it. Kamal, go ahead and bring him in before I screw this up. I'm going to do it, aren't I?
Yeah.
I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I told you I can't.
Yeah. It's okay. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Dan. Hi, everybody. This is Kamal Aita, CEO of Game Hermits. And I'm really CEO. And I'm really happy.
Sorry, we're going to get out of your way. I was just going to say, the floor is yours. Teach us, and we'll be here. Dan will be back in just a little bit to get questions for you and have fun.
Yeah, have fun.
Right.
What we'll do is we'll pop up questions at the end of your presentation. If there's questions from the chat, I'll come in. We'll bring them up. We'll field them. We'll ask you a bunch of sensitive stuff that you don't want to answer, and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh boy, can't wait. All right. So hi everyone. This session is about outsourcing. So I hope you can see my screen right now. This session is about effective outsourcing for indie and mid-sized studios, aka how to cut your production cost like a pro. So first things first, I'm Kamal Aita. I'm founder and CEO of Game Hermits. Game Hermits is a outsourcing game studio in Egypt, based in Egypt. We've been working for 6 years, almost 7 years now. We've helped countless studios and entrepreneurs make their games or interactive applications. And we've grown to see all kinds of clients and all kinds of ways that people expect outsourcing to behave or be applicable in their businesses, and we've identified what's the best way to make outsourcing work right and cut production cost with it. So this is what I'm going to present today. So about the table of content here today, we have first we'll talk a bit about the business journey for indie game businesses and mid-sized studios. Then we're going to talk a little bit about indie production, um, and then we're going to dive into how to outsource as an indie studio or as a mid-sized studio. And then after that, I'll give live examples from our recent projects that I find really interesting because they were big projects. So first things first, indie startups journey. So a startup journey is a little bit different from the indie startup journey. The only difference is that we start with an idea. Most startups they search for target audience first, and then they see what problem they have, and they try to solve that problem. This way, they can make their products easier to market, and they ensure that they have a target audience before they start. Well, indie game studio, it's not uh, as quite as simple as this or straightforward as this. We start with an idea. We indie games and mid-sized studios are really fueled with passion for ideas and experimental mechanics and gameplay. This is what we are. So we start with an idea, and then we immediately search for a target audience for this idea, which is our players here. When we find, if we find a target audience that can that needs this type of game mechanics or this type of idea, aka demand, when they have a demand, we can then proceed to see, okay, how do we turn this game into a business? What is our business canvas? What is our business plan? We can even throw in some financial statements and financial studies. If we're going to pursue or search for investment, we need these, obviously, all of which we're developing our prototype, uh, which is going to be an incremental process of trial and error on different gameplay mechanics. So once we have the prototype, we can then start sharing around with people. Look, this is our game. It's this, and that. It's supposed to be new in this. What do you think? And we get feedback from players, and we hold multiple play sessions, and so on and so forth. When we reach beta, this is like the MVP and the traditional startups. The MVP is like a product with minimal viable functions, and it has partial payment. For indie studios, it can have partial payment. We call it early access, or it can, if it's free to play, we can't really put any microtransactions in there because it doesn't make sense somehow. But I've seen a couple of games do that, and they do that really good. And then, obviously, if we're lucky and we have a loyal fan base, we can then release the game, and hopefully it's a success. So, with that said, where do we fit outsourcing in this? To answer this question, we need first to see what's the production like in the indie journey. So it starts with 3 barrel lines. This is the most, how can I say it? This is the proven way that we've tried with indie businesses over and over again, and this is how they get things done really fast. So you draw 3 separate lines. There's the design, there's the art, there's the development. So the design is that everything from writing, from designing the game, from UX, from UI. You really want to keep this separate, but you want to give it a first priority because you're going to have to make core ideas, experimental mechanics. You're going to try a lot of mechanics, and only a handful of the mechanics that you've written or designed will make it in the prototype or the beta. So the design is the most important part in early stages, of obviously, and it's where you're going to be able to cut your production later on, because it doesn't it doesn't make sense to involve outsource studio in the design process, since the design process is your vision in the game or of the game. So you shouldn't bring outsourced studios into the vision until it's ready and you know exactly what you want from the game. For the art, obviously, you need to have clear vision from the design process, and you need to have clear aesthetic. We've had a couple of um, clients before that they said, okay, we want a realistic game, and that was their description uh, for the art of the game. So realistic game doesn't mean it's an archetype. It doesn't define what's the aesthetic of the game. So you have The Last of Us 2, for example. It's very different aesthetic from, say, for example, Call of Duty, the latest Call of Duty or Battlefield. It's also not it's not similar to Assassin's Creed, for example. They're all under the archetype of realistic, but they have different aesthetic. So this is a very important thing to consider. You have to find what exactly are you trying to reach before you uh, uh, do any outsourcing. Regarding um, the development is actually the things that you can cut production cost on, and the things that you should um, if you don't have enough workforce, you should consider really consider outsourcing, because outsourced studios are they most often they have experienced teams in the development side. They can build you scalable and easy to maintain systems. For example, we had this client before, and they have built a system that is designed specifically for their game, but it was very, very hard to maintain. It was very rigid, to the point where we actually had to offer them that we're going to replace their system with a completely new system. This was one of the bad examples of outsourcing, because work they had worked on the game, not through a professional or experienced lens, and that resulted in a system that you can't really work with. So they had to pay extra in their game, in the production budget. They had to pay extra just to replace the system that was already working but can't scale, and they really needed to scale their game. So the development needs to be always scalable, always maintainable. It shouldn't be designed just specifically to meet the job of today. Um, about the agile workflow on indie features. So it really starts with an idea, as we said, for a feature. For example, how the player going to move, how the camera going to move, what's the AI that's working against the player looks like. Is there cooperative AI? A lot of ideas in the game business. With this idea, we start to research this idea and see what really has anyone ever done this idea. If so, how did they do it, and what was the reaction of the players for this idea? And from this, we can compile all of the feedback, the how hard it is to implement this idea. Is it even feasible on the platform that we're developing on? and then we can come to the decision of, okay, we can work on this idea, or we can try to readjust the idea to meet the specification that we want. um, so once the research is done, we then get to prototyping. All of this workflow shouldn't have any outsourcing. We're still in the core team is still working on different mechanics and seeing uh, what they want to do. They're not really sure what's going to be to end up in the final version of the game or the released version of the game. So you shouldn't still outsource or use any outsourcing services. You should do this part yourself, and make sure that you have prototyped different mechanics, and you have performed play testing sessions on these mechanics, if either alone or within the game, integrated in the game. And then you will keep in this cycle until you are satisfied and you feel like, okay, this mechanic is good. It translates our vision in the game, and it looks good. It looks good on it runs smoothly. It's not causing any troubles. It's not buggy and all of that stuff. Once you approve a feature, you begin to integrate it in production version. This is where you can outsource. And of course, depending on the types of the outsource that we're going to talk about, this is where you get to cut production cost. So types of outsourcing. So we have three types of outsourcing. There is the full cycle, the development, and the art. The full cycle is for game designers and non-technical entrepreneurs. Um, this is the type we work with the most here in the MENA and internationally. We get a lot of clients that are saying, hey, I'm a game designer, I have this GDD, the game design document, and I want this game to be done. What should I do? I don't want to hire people, I don't want to manage people. This is actually a very interesting way to make games. It's becoming more and more reliable now, because you get to you get to clear all the overhead of managing a staff, managing offices, get down to legal work and HR. All of these things are obstacles in front of you that you need to be very careful when deciding or planning for your game. So with outsourcing, the outsource studio just take care of all of that, and all you have to do is just focus on your game, focus on your vision, and focus on the marketing of your game and the PR. So with that said, if you're a game designer or a non-technical entrepreneur and you're looking to make your game, it's better to, if we go back, it's better to do this cycle with someone that you know, or even hire a core team for this agile workflow thing. The core team is not going to be a big team. It's just going to be people who know how to implement the mechanics that you want in your game, and then they can build you this cycle, and you can play and test. And once you get approved on all the features that you want, you can then outsource to an experienced studio that will that will do the job well done. What about the development? The development outsource is really simple. It's straightforward. We had people who have offline games. They wanted to make it or port it into an online version. We help with that. We do networking, servers, and backend, and multiplayer, obviously. There are people who wanted to lay down the core systems that they're going to build the game on. We also helped a client before with this one. And also you have tools and add-ons if you want special tools outside the engine that you're working on to help you out with things like, for example, rendering special effects outside the rendering pipeline of the engine, we can do that as well. And obviously a lot of outsourced studios work specifically for the tools and add-ons because the game industry is quite big and it's really hard to do everything on your own. Lastly, the art, the most famous and popular thing in outsourcing, it's the art. You can outsource concept art, 3D art, animations, visual effects. You can also outsource music and sound effects. There's a lot of things that you can outsource that include that, which is not development based. But the thing here, don't outsource things um, without having an experienced person on your team. So, for example, if you're going to outsource concept art, you should have a concept artist on your team, or if it's you, then this is good. This concept artist is going to act as a art director for your game because you need to validate this art. The outsourcing studios, they usually don't involve too much in your vision. They don't get um, to the, how do you say it, they don't get into details about your game. They take what you need and they work on it and then they deliver. So you need to have a concept artist who's going to validate their work and act as a mentor, not mentor, someone who oversees how they get things done, how the files are um, listed and appropriately named, um, whether the art assets that the outsourcing studio is capable of being reused. This is obviously a very important point because before we become an outsourced studio, we've worked with outsourced studios, and one major problem that we found is that they deliver things exactly as you want, as you uh, described. So it's very important to always describe that this art asset it has to be capable of being reused, because reusing assets is actually one of the biggest things that cut production costs in the game development pipeline. Um, let's get to outsourcing workflow. Now you know when to outsource parts of your game, whether it's full cycle, whether it's development, whether it's art. The things. The thing is, you need to be clear about the end product, and you need to be clear about the aesthetic and art direction. So whatever you type of outsourcing you want to do, there is three workflow which are the best workflows we've worked in that you can use outsourcing to cut production. So there's the separate workforce, which is the most traditional outsourcing. You have a detailed specification document, you have a clear version, you have a comparison, like a reference that you can compare to, and you have a clear timeline and milestones. This is like the ideal situation. When you have all of these points done, outsourcing is going to cut as much as 50%, if not more, of production cost, because you already know what you need, exactly what you need. So there's no rework, there's no really big obstacles in front of you. You have everything sorted out. You just need workforce to get the job done. So I think I say if you have all of these, and you can then uh, compare what it would what it's going to cost you to hire a workforce or a team to do this job for you, against what would it cost you if you're going to outsource. And 80% of the time is going to be way less if you outsource the job to an outsourced studio, even as an indie. Now, for the integrated team, this is a workflow that we really like and we love, because we are indie developers ourselves. We work on original IPs, and we feel that this is the most reliable thing or workflow for indie studios, which is how to integrate the outsourced team into your team so that they are all one manageable team, one manageable big team. So for this to work perfectly, you need to have a detailed game design document. You need to have a detailed and manageable agile sprint. And then you need to have an aligned vision with the with the outsourcing studio, and you need to specify a deadline. So what this workflow is that a representative of the outsourced studio will show up to to your team sprint meetings, and they will share. Uh, they will dive into the details of your vision and your game. But the thing here is that the management of the outsourcing team itself is separate from yours. So you have to rely the art tasks. If you're having more than one, like development and art, you have to rely all the tasks to this representative, which is going to be a project management. He is going, or are going to be a project management themselves in their outsourcing studio. You get the point? So a project management and the outsourcing team is attending your sprint meeting. They get what they need to work on your game, and then they have their internal sprint meeting, and they rely this workflow works great with indie studios because it allows flexibility with trial and error. Right now, we've worked with a couple of indie studios before. They had a clear vision and clear aesthetic, and they wanted exactly what they knew exactly what they wanted from the game. But the feedback wasn't really that good. Like the feedback was mixed, more to negative actually. So they had to change things, and because we were working like this, like an integrated team inside their team, we were able to quickly establish new iterations and iterate on new mechanics that they haven't really thought they would need to work on. This way, they actually kept production cost to minimum because they were five. Uh, their team was five, and we were 12. So they didn't need to hire all 12. They only hired us as an entity, and because we're integrated in their team, they were like 17, a team of 17 working on their game. So this is really interesting. I think indie studios and mid studios can benefit, especially indie studios can benefit from this workflow. The last one is more for mid-sized studios. It's the linear timeline, which will be this is what we see most in mid studios and bigger studios, not AAA, but bigger studios. The linear timeline is basically, it's not really agile. It's just you have blocks of job or tasks that needs to be done before other tasks, and you group them, and you hire an outsourced studio to do them, and then you have an acceptance criteria that, okay, once this job is done this way, this is it. You can then release the outsourcing team, and you get to cut your production cost like this. So you're in this workflow, your development team isn't really static. It's not like we are 17 people working on this, or we are 20 people working on this, or we are 50 people working on this. It's going to be like we are minimum 10 people working on this. This is the core team. This is the most experienced people in your team. And then you hire outsourcing studios and freelancers, for example, to work on parts of your game in different time periods. So, for example, for the core systems, we're going to hire an outsourcing studio. Is going to provide 5 engine programmers, for example. They will work on the core systems that supports the game, and then we release this outsourcing studio, and then we hire another outsourcing studio for the art, and so on and so forth. This is a bit tricky, but when done right, it actually exceeds 50% production cut on production costs. And the right way to do it is to have the specific feature list. Specific feature list is actually a specific feature list is derived from a demo that that you implement. So you need to make a demo of the game, um, not not just one level, not even a playable demo, just a demo that has every part of your system in place, but it's a demo. It's not production code. It's not scalable. It's not maintainable. Uh, Same time for the art, uh, not the final animations, but you have to produce a mock game that has everything that will be present in your game, so that you know exactly what you need before you start hiring outsourced studios. Once you have this specific feature list, you can then group them into blocks of features. Like, for example, block A is going to be the core systems. This is the list of features that define how the game is going to be rendered, how the physics is going to work, the optimization of the game, and so on and so forth. Block B, for example, is going to be about animations and VFX. Block C is going to be about 3D or 2D art, and so on. Once you do that, you'll find that you have really cut the production cost of your game quite substantially, and it releases a lot of the risk involved in the game industry, because you're minimizing the production cost to as much as you can, and so you can actually either go independent or draw investment yourself. So with that said, let's go and dive into live examples. We have 3 projects. The first project is an oil refinery simulator. This project was done just a couple of weeks ago. The client here knew exactly what they wanted. They had a reference. They knew what features to include. They had a detailed scenarios about what the player is going to do, or the user is going to do inside the game or application, and they had a specific deadline that they wanted the application to be delivered on. This is ideal situation. We literally just uh, went through this project like a breeze. It was so easy. There were no obstacles whatsoever. Nothing was lost in the communication between us, because what what we didn't understand verbally from them, uh, they were able to compensate that with their specific feature list. So when they said, we want the user to be able to interact with anything inside the oil refinery, we didn't understand what anything meant. Is it like light bulbs and random things in the oil refinery, or is it just the actual things that the player needs to do to complete a scenario? But we found that they had a detailed feature list about the things that the player can interact with, and that helped bridge or smoothen the communication between the both of us. And so this was a very good and interesting project that we've worked on. And it was very smooth. This project, it was one of the toughest projects we've worked on because the deadline was very near. They had to deliver in like 3 months, and we had to work within these 3 months. Actually, we had to deliver before the 3 months. But the thing is, they didn't have the back end of the game finished, and they didn't have a detailed feature list. They didn't know what what exactly the game is going to look like at the end. And I understand that sometimes you're confused about how the game is going to look at the end, but at least there are core things that you need to list in order for your game to be your game, not someone else's game. So they didn't even do that. So we end up reworking a lot of things. We ended up reworking the models, reworking these these weren't the older models. We ended up reworking the entire UX experience, and they ended up uh, doubling on their budget to hire us, and that was a full cycle. So we did the art, we did the development, we did the 3D, we did everything. So it actually cost them more than if they would have to hire a team to work on it. This is one of the worst examples to work in an outsourcing. And truth to be told, we told them and we warned them before they come to us. You are not ready for outsourcing. You need to define this, and that. But they didn't listen. They wanted things done fast, and rushing anything isn't really the right answer to game development. So what ended up happening is that they paid more than they would do if they just hired someone to work on it. The last project is just still under development. It's a VR game for the metaverse. Uh, we're not sponsoring McDonald's or anything, just the shot. Anyways, this VR game is about a city that you can build and trade cryptocurrency on and stuff like that. But the thing is, here we're working partially. We're just working on the environment. We're not working on the back end or the blockchain technology. Um, this example is a bit tricky because the client knows the end result uh, of his project, but the problem is his project, it has no references. It's a brand new project. No one has done this before, or no one has released something like this before. So we have to scrap references from other VR games, but it's not quite what he wants. So the communication here is poor. But the thing that compensates is that the client is actually responsive in the communications. He actually calls us daily, and he monitor us on everything we do. Okay, I don't want this, I don't want that, I want this and that. And this actually helps us get things done. So he is an example of an integrated workflow. He integrated himself with our team. He actually uh, attend our sprint meetings and see, okay, what has the team worked on this sprint and how we can improve it. How are we on the right time to meet our deadlines? What is the quality of the game? All of these things are within the integrated workflow. So he actually saved himself uh, more than 40% on production if he would just hire a full team to work on his game, because our the team members that are working on this game right now are 9. Uh, some of them are 3D, some of them are programming, some of them are UX designers, some of them are environment designers. And so if he would to hire this many staff, he would need to manage all of them, or hire someone to manage them, and then he would have a lot of obstacles to face, like the HR, legal work, financial work, and so on and so forth. But the way he did it was really clever. He integrated himself. He let us know, of course, that he will be integrating himself with our team, and we have absolutely no. Um, we actually like this, and this way he could monitor everything that's happening as if we were his team. The only difference is he gets to get away from all the overhead from managing the team, and he just gets to monitor and ensure that his vision is we are doing or making the game according to his vision. So these were the 3 examples, um, from the ideal, the worst, and the average. That is actually what actually happens in the real world. And yeah, I think I hope that you have a better idea on how to outsource as an indie studio, and that it's really feasible as an indie to outsource or use outsourcing services, um, unlike the outsourcing services that is meant for AAA, which actually isn't any of the workflows that we've mentioned. It's much bigger and much more complicated. So yeah, I'm finished with this uh, presentation, and
Excellent. Well, we
let's
have
see.
got a bunch of questions for you,
Yeah,
Kamal. All right.
yeah.
So I'm going to work backwards.
All right.
I'm going to work backwards. So, Jack's Coder, what should I learn to make advanced game mechanics? This is not particularly about an outsourcing question, but this is more
Yeah,
a question about game dev.
yeah. So I would say, if you want to make advanced game mechanics, you have to nail down the basics. So if you're a gameplay programmer, just nail down your understanding of OOP, solid principles, the engine that you're working with, whether it's Unity, whether it's Unreal, Cry, whatever the engine is, and then try to make these things without following any tutorials. This is how I learned. Obviously, I'm not much of a technical guy right now. I've dropped technicalities to my team and focused more on business. But this is how I used to do it, and yeah.
That's good stuff. Okay. And that makes sense too. Oh, here we go. Mech Alina, are you currently accepting new clients? And how can I follow up?
All right. So we're always accepting clients, and just type gamehermits.com and you'll find us first on Google. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, um, and LinkedIn, obviously. Should I drop some links here?
Oh,
Can I drop
I
some
just
links?
dropped in links in the chat
Great.
there. Hopefully
Great.
people can hear. It's gamehermits.com. That's an easy one to remember. Okay, so here
Yeah.
we go. Let's and you kind of answered this with one of your clients, but how often, like how often are you checking in with clients and doing reviews? Like what's the
S-
standard? I know that there's
Yeah.
different, like you said, that one guy you talk to him every week,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, every sprint. Yeah. So we the way we work in Game Elements, we want people, or we want clients to be integrated with our team. It's better to. It is the best thing to ensure that what we're making is actually what they want. But some clients, they just don't. They don't want that. They want to say, to drop in every couple of weeks or something and say, "Okay, how's things going? Oh, good. All right. Peace out." And so yeah, it really depends on the client themselves. From our end, we like to give a report every week, every sprint, which is a week.
Right. Every week. That's the standard, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
once a week. All right, let's see here. What are some of the lengths of your longest and shortest projects? Let's hear the extremes. Like what's the longest
Yeah.
time you were in production and what's the shortest time?
So the shortest time in production was actually 1 week. It was a very, very basic 2D game, and it was one of the first projects that we've ever done as a outsourcing studio. The longest in production so far is about 8 months now. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
which is the second client, the one which is the worst case. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's they wanted the deadline in 3 months. We gave them the demo in 3 months, but it really took 8 months, and we just finished with them like a month ago. So this is
That's awesome. And they were happy
they
with their
were happy
project,
with the
yeah.
final end. Of course they were happy, but the
Right.
thing is, if they had planned better, it wouldn't take 8 months.
Right. So a lot of it has to do with planning. So much of it
Exactly.
has to do with planning, right?
Yeah, we actually help with planning, but they just
Hmm.
didn't listen, and they said no, we were going to work like this.
Right. Well, some people, they pay you and then you just do what they I've learned that, right? Like sometimes I'll get hired for something and then somebody wants me to do something a certain way and I'm like, well, we should probably do it this way, but they want me to do it their way, so I'm getting paid by them. It's
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
just do it,
We
and that's
actually, we
usually
actually, yeah, we actually suggest on them the best way,
hmm.
and then it's up to them to decide whether
Right,
to
right.
take on the best route or not.
Because that's the thing. When you hire somebody, you're hiring them for their not just that they can do it, but for their expertise in whatever it
Exactly,
is that they're doing.
exactly.
Okay, here we go. Can you tell us some differences in the contracts, like when you work from people from another country as opposed to working with somebody from Egypt, which is obviously your
Yeah,
country?
yeah. So we're working with clients in United Arab Emirates. We're working with people in Europe, Sweden, and the UK. The way it works is that um, we have two contracts, one here in Egypt and one there in UK. But
Hmm.
we always advise to have the contracts in your own country, because Egypt doesn't have a strong uh, laws to how do you say it, uh, protect the IP legally. So we always advise, okay, you have the contract in your country, and we will be signing as if we're working in your country. This is how we do
Hmm.
it most of the times.
I wonder how the legalities of that are. I'm sure you guys have spoken with an attorney and all
Yeah,
that good
yeah,
stuff about it. So here we go. This is good. This is kind of a follow up of about your longest project your team has worked on and some of the hurdles. I know you already talked about some of the hurdles. Was there any more things? Was there any more like things that just happened along the production line and you're like, oh my goodness? And
yeah. So in the worst example that I've talked about, it's a game called Transformance, and the thing about this game was that it had a couple of features. The biggest feature was it's connected to a sort of a RESTful API, and this API wasn't really finished. So we had to plan the game as if the API was finished, and then we had to test the game without actual data coming from the server. So we actually had to work on an extra system that provides random data as if it's coming from the server. But it actually went to we did this so that when they build their servers, it's integrated as smooth as possible, and that's what
mhm.
happened actually. uh, we didn't tell them about what we did, because we were sure that if we told them, they would say, no, don't work on something extra, focus on what we've said and what we've agreed on doing. They were a little bit of hard clients, but then when we worked like that and they did the API, uh, the integration was very smooth, to the point where they were actually surprised. Wait, what? That's it? 3 days and we're done? So yeah, this was one of the hardest things we had
So you
to
just kind of had to
overcome.
predict what the API would be like and
Yeah.
go from there. Right. That's interesting. So here we go. What is the most efficient way to communicate with the team that you are that you're outsourcing for? Like, do you guys use email, Discord, phone calls?
Um, any instant chatting platform and Zoom.
And Zoom?
Just we yes, and Zoom. Any kind of video conference or instant chatting. Emails doesn't really cut it off, because sometimes you need to an instant reply, like,
Uh-huh.
hey, what's this going to be? So we usually set up like, get our clients in things like Discord or
Mhm.
something with an instant chat, so that they can chat with us at any time.
Yeah, because emails sometimes, especially when you're working with people of different time zones, you send them an email and then they don't get it
Yes,
to the next day, and then they send you an
exactly.
email, and then by then it's 3 or 4 days, and it was just a simple
Exactly.
yes or no, right?
Yes,
Oh, what
exactly.
a
Yeah.
pain. So yeah, Discord is a lifesaver when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Discord.
All right, let's see here. Oh, this is a great one. What tools do you use to manage your outsourced contractors or clients?
What exactly do you mean manage?
Like,
Is it about?
do you use like Google Docs? Is there like some kind of a CRM program that you use?
We use ClickUps.
ClickUps?
Click
Okay.
ClickUps. Yeah, we use that for any sort of management. We've been using it lately. It's very it's amazing, actually, and just the traditional Excel sheet with everyone spaced in different
Hmm.
sheets. So yeah.
And that works great until you have like 30 clients, right? And then
It works great. It works great until you have 30 clients. But what we do is that we have like we've built like a small program that actually, when the job is done, we take this data and throw it
Mhm.
in our database on the website, on our website, on servers, so that the Excel sheet stays under maximum 10 sheets. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, so do you, when you're working with somebody or a company or a person or whatever, is there like a point of contact in your team, or does that person like have full access to everybody?
No, there is a point of
Okay,
contact. Yeah, it's always point of contact, because it makes things easier this way.
right, right. There's what is it? What's that saying? Too many cooks in the kitchen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, right. All right, here we go. How do you decide on your pricing?
So we have fixed pricing. It's a range between $21 and $26 per hour, and it's all uh, according to the state of our country, whether
Mhm.
it's becoming a, like it's all based on the USD. Is it going up? Is it going down? And but we don't exceed, actually, like $26 per hour, because that would make it too expensive here for Egypt, and it's easier for you than to just hire someone from your own country.
Right. So, like, is that 26 or whatever per hour for every person that's on your team, or for just
No,
hours
that's
of
just
production?
for the whole time, for the whole team, for production.
Okay. Well, here's another question. This is totally, it has nothing to do with game development, but is the price of fuel there rising as well? Like the price of gas when you go to fill up your car,
Everything is rising.
right?
Everything
Like,
is rising. It's insane.
yeah, everything. That's what's happening here. Like, I think the last I looked, our gas here was $4 and something.
Oh
But
yeah.
in other places, I know it's like $5 and $6,
It's
right?
it's actually rising in Saudi Arabia and the United Emirates. How
Uh-huh.
is it even possible? I don't know.
I don't know. So how much does gas cost there in US dollars?
Here in Egypt,
Uh-huh.
I can't say for in USD, but it's it has seen growth over the last 3 years,
Mhm.
250%. So that's
Well, our gas prices went up like just in a couple of weeks,
yes,
right?
yes. I think this is because the latest news, like our hearts is with everyone in Ukraine. So
Mhm.
I think this is the main reason.
Right, right. Okay, so we just got another question here from Jane at Layer from on YouTube. How do you easily source third-party license IP if you are tasked with reskinning a game?
Um, Reskinning in the game. Actually, we recommend you figure out the licensing before you come to us, because this just puts extra obstacles in front of us. So if I understand the question correctly, you want to see how are we going to deal with the license if we're going to make a reskinning of a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this case, the licensing stays with you. We don't do anything. We just reskin the game. Is that is that what you're asking? I'm not quite sure.
How do you easily source third-party license IP if you're tasked with reskinning a game? I don't. That sounds like a good answer. Oh,
Hopefully,
excuse
I
me, my
answered.
allergies.
It's
All
that
right,
time of the season.
right. It is. Well, I got another one. Oh, geez.
Just
Um,
just don't hold back.
just hold it back. Oh, where do you
No, don't
go?
hold back.
Don't hold it back. Just yeah, because your ears will explode. Where do you
Yeah.
go to advertise and promote your services as an outsourcing studio?
Obviously, events. Outsourcing is very tricky when it comes to marketing, because if you just make like ads on LinkedIn or Facebook, for example, it's very niche audience, so you're not really sure is if it's going to reach them correctly or not. We've tried this and we had no luck. But what we do is that we have a meetings. It's more of a business development than marketing. So we have meetings, we go to events, we speak to people, we see what they want, what they need, and then we offer them a customized service for them. And since we are a full cycle studio, we can pretty much do everything. We work in VR, mobile, PC, art, development, anything. So we are easily able to customize an offer for the people that we talk to.
Oh, I'm still muted from my sneezing. There we go. Question from Discord. How do you evaluate the quality of a potential outsource studio?
All right, so there are three. This is a very good question, actually. There's three criteria. First, if they suggest better alternatives for you, uh, that means they really care about the details. Second, if they know the exactly the details of your project as you described them. So some outsource studios, they do that we've worked with, they do they see the genre, they see the premise of the game, and then say, okay, it's like this other project that we've done. So here's a template of an answer that we've given to a previous client. This thing is, you feel like it's robotic, but when the answer that you're giving to each of your question is really specific for your game or your project, that means they really paid attention to the document or the details that you talked about. And the last criteria is obviously their previous work, what they worked with. But as an outsourced studio, we sign a lot of NDAs. Um, Obviously, that's like a default. You should always sign an NDA with any outsourced studio that you work with. So a lot of our projects actually not on our website because we can't actually share them. So
Ooh, top secret stuff. Top secret stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
it's actually it's a bit annoying, but I understand why the clients wouldn't want their projects to be on our website. So yeah, just have a chat with whoever runs the studio or the point of contact and see for yourself whether they are paying attention to what you're saying, how fast will they reply to you with an offer, are they going to like keep uh, uh, like knocking on your door, how maybe they will give you better alternatives for or solutions. All of these things, obviously check their LinkedIn, see who's working with them. All of these things really help evaluate whether the outsource studio is
And
actually.
reach out to people that have worked with them before. Right.
Yes,
Yes.
but due to NDA it might
Right.
get a little tricky.
But reach out to, I mean, like obviously there's some sites, some projects you can put up there, right, that show who you work
Exactly,
with.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
reach out to those people. So I'm going to answer one question real quick. Jax Coder says, how can I find a good publisher for my game? And I've got an answer. I'm going to post it in chat right here. At the Powell Group Consulting, which runs indie game business, we have a large list of publishers. powellgroupconsulting.com/publisher-lists. And I just posted that up in there. Thank you so much, Kamal. We've got our next,
Thank you very
we've
much.
got a panel. This is an AMA panel, indie publishing AMA, and it's got someone from Chucklefish, someone from Raw Fury, and someone from Fellow Traveler. All amazing publishers. I know, I'm sure everyone's got their favorite of which publisher that is. So thank you so much, Kamal. Join our Discord, everybody. Discord.gg/indie game business. We're gonna get Kamal in there. So if you got any more questions about outsourcing, come on in. Thank you, Kamal.
Thank you. Bye.